Hello everybody. In this tutorial we're going to go over how to integrate your scoreboard controller with Compix Dash. Now there are a couple things that you're going to want to do before opening up the Dash software. The first is finding out what COM port your scoreboard controller is plugged into. In my case I am using a Daktronics All-Sport CG controller and it's going into COM3. Another thing you're going to want to need is a specification sheet for your scoreboard controller. In my case, I am using Daktronics basketball, and this is the specification for basketball. So with these two things, let's go ahead and open up the Compix Dash software now. Now with Compix Dash opened, I'm going to go to Option and then Serial Port. And this is the main window we're going to be focused on when building and integrating the scoreboard controller. Now on the very top you'll see plus and minus. So let me go ahead and click on the plus button to add a serial connection. And within here you'll see all of your available COM ports. So I have two serial connections now, COM1 and 2, and I have a USB to serial connection where my scoreboard controller is plugged into, and that is COM3. Now all of these parameters here, the baud rate, data bits, these are all associated with the PDF that I had opened before. Now if I were to open up the Daktronics PDF, at the very top you'll see baud rate 9600, data bits 8, and the rest of the information within. So go ahead and set everything up here and press OK. And now that you pressed OK, this is the main window for your serial connection. And let me go over what all of this does. So at the very top you have your COM3 settings here, and you have a setup file. So this is for an XML. So after generating all of your data, after connecting it to your scoreboard, you could export it out as an XML file. So if you were to do basketball now, but next season, football or soccer or baseball, then you could export all of those individual sports out and just use the XML file year after year. So that is what setup file is. And below that you have baud rate, data bits, so all these are the settings that you have already associated with the COM3. Now below that you have an empty field here. This will give you a preview of what the scoreboard controller is spitting out. And below that you have checksum. So if your scoreboard controller accepts checksum, you could go ahead and check this right now. And below that is all the checksum settings, which we'll go into in a little bit. Beneath, this is where you would actually add all of the data that your scoreboard controller supports. And to the right of that, this gives you a list of all of the connected data. So with all of the setup, the first thing you're going to want to do is click on the plus button to add a field. And if I open up the PDF that we were looking at before, this is the main section that you're going to want to focus on. So the first field is called SOH, and it's the header. And the very last field, field 17, this is called the EOT, and it's a footer. Now the numbers right next to it, SOH is 1, and EOT says 4. We're going to need to place these within the field above. So in between it starts with game clock time, game clock status, and it ends with checksum. So you're going to want to add each of these fields in right here. So for the first field you have game clock time, and if I open up the PDF again, my game clock time, the justification is mm:/ss.t. So mm:/ss.t, and you could give it its own description, and even the node name doesn't really need to be exact. But what is important is the length. My game clock time has a length of 7. This is referring to the number of bits that you're using. So MMSST, that's minute, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The dot is 6 and the T is 7. So this is 7 bits. And that gives you an example of setting it up for one row. And at the very end is a selection for your type, whether it be data or checksum. So I already have all of this filled out. So let me go to my drop-down list and select example Daktronics basketball, and let me click on load. And this is what it looks like with it all filled out. So after setting this up, you would need to generate your checksum. So within the PDF under checksum, you have the length, which is 2. So I have 2 set up for my bytes up here. And the format is hexadecimal, so I'm going to select 16. Now after doing this, you're all set up. So let's go ahead and connect it. I'm going to click on connect and get data. And there's a couple things that happen. The first is you have all of the information that the scoreboard controller is spewing out right here. In addition, it grabbed the information that it's spewing out one time and it's displayed right here. So we know that everything is now connected. So the next thing you're going to want to do is integrate this within your pages. So let me go ahead and click on the plus button to add templates. And I have a bunch of lower thirds. You know, this is just a default example. So let me click on the plus button to add more specific basketball graphics. So I could go into my Compix dash, demo files, my resolution, and all of these files we give out with all of our systems. We give you baseball, basketball examples, football, hockey, soccer. For this example, let me open up basketball, and this will open up all of the basketball examples that we have. And let me click on this one in particular and click on OK. Now I'm going to right click on this page and go into its properties. And within the page properties, I have aliases set for all the objects I want to make dynamic. So I have a shot clock, a game clock, the visitor score, visitor name, quarter, home score, and home name. So all I have to do is, let's say for the game clock, I'm going to select this and just drag it over into my game clock value field. And the same thing is for the home and guest scores as well. So I could go to my home team score and just drag this in to my home score right here, and the same for my visitor or guest score. Now let me do the same to my period as well. So I'm going to drag the period into where it says quarter. Now for my period, because it just says 1, I could actually add a suffix to this. So after dragging the value in, I could go ahead and select the suffix box. Now with everything set, I'm going to click on preview, and notice everything changes. Notice that the suffix is a lowercase st. So if you wanted to make it all caps, then under quarter, with the cap section, you could do uppercase, preview, and now the ST is capitalized. So let me go ahead and save this and close it and bring it to error. So there's a couple ways you could actually bring this to error. You could either double click on it to bring it into preview, and then click the play button to bring it on air. And notice when it's on air, you have this blue tally light, and this tells you that this page is connected to data. Another way you could bring it on air is through the stamp button. So basically with the stamp button, if I click on it, then I could drag this page in and play it on either the foreground or background layer of my playlist. So before I play this out, let me go ahead and add additional pages. And I could start playing them in my sequence. And with my stamp object, I could play this on top of additional pages. And this makes data like scoring from a scoreboard really convenient. Now let's go ahead and test to see if this works correctly. So I have my home with my home score, visitor with my visitor score. I have a period set, which is first right now, and my game clock is 8. I don't have a shot clock set up, but we could test these other data fields. So through the Daktronics scoreboard controller, let me go ahead and start the game clock. Now the game clock should be counting down, and it looks like it's counting down right now on the output. Now let me go ahead and add a home score. Looks like that works. I could add a visitor score. And it looks like that works as well. Let me go ahead and add a quarter in. So it goes from first to second to third to fourth. So it looks like everything is pretty much set up now. And I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. If you have any additional questions, you could contact us at sales@compix.tv, or if you already have a Dash product, just contact us at support@compix.tv.